This conference will now be recorded.
To a potential industrial park and also
Good morning, everybody.
recreation.
Morning. We're about to begin our meeting today. Do we have any volunteers for the prayer? Okay then.
Bow your head, please. Father God, we come to you this morning to tell you thank you. Thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for seeing this day we ain't never seen before. Father God, just continue to bless the county, Dooley County, Father God, because we all want to do what's best for Dooley. Father God, just make us all come together as one and work together. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Let's all stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. We have before you a proposed agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move out the
You-
agenda.
Oh, that-
Did we add anything
Yeah.
to it, Steve? I need to add something, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
before we-
yeah, I do too.
I want to talk about the new zoning fee that we have.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that right?
All right, Dave, anything?
We have another public hearing today.
We've continued one for Mr. Southwell field, right?
Tim,
No, sir.
Eugene?
No.
Anything else, Tony?
No, sir.
Okay, now, me and you both was on the same page, so
Okay.
I think that's it. Okay,
I offer the motion for the amended agenda.
I second.
okay, it has been motioned and second, all in favor by the show of hand, and that motion carried. Old minutes were mailed and emailed to everybody by sometime postal service. What's the pledge of the board?
I so move that we'll sit. Oh,
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. It has been motioned and second. Do we have any other discussion or correction on the old minute? If not, all in favor by the show of hand, and that motion been carried. Mr. Steve, it's on you now.
Okay, let me get caught up here. Okay, you've got a copy of the financial report for the month of June. Hot off the press, take it, look at it. It's just that time of year where cash flow start to get a little tight, so other than that, everything seems to be in order. Item number 3, Dooley County is allowed to have 2 representatives on the Middle Flint Health and Wellness Board. Miss Betty Lamb currently serves as a representative. The position is vacant. I had an email from Earl Clark stating that he was willing to serve, and it indicated he may have talked to a county commissioner. I'm not sure. Okay. Question, is that the same Earl Clark that currently serves on the DFAX board
the same one.
and Board of Elections? So he's Earl Clark Jr. and Earl Clark are the same person? Okay, I just want to make sure I was straight in my head. Okay. All right. So is there?
But is that, I mean, that's okay.
for him to be on 3.
Right, exactly. Is that-
That's up to y'all, man. There's nothing I'm aware of
It's
that
hard to
would,
find people to serve. If he's willing to serve,
y'all feel he's qualified and capable.
What I would say is you should probably limit it to 2 on county boards, but this is a regional board that fits into nicely with the health board. He's on the Board of Health.
DFAX.
DFAX, okay, well, DFAX, Board of Health, it fits in with those same missions. And so you do want people who are usually who have served or who have served or are serving on those type boards to be on these regional boards. So it makes sense in
Yeah,
this
it makes
situation.
sense.
But if it were a third board within the county, then you probably need to be looking at getting more involvement. But I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So we need to,
Made a motion.
Yes.
I so move that Earl Clark be on the board.
I second, Mr. Chairman.
okay, it has been motioned and second. All in favor by the show of hand, that motion carries.
Okay, item number 4, there's currently a vacancy on the DFAX board. Is there any nominations? Hearing none, we'll move along, keep that on the agenda. Item number 5, there's currently a vacancy on the Board of Elections. Any nominations?
I got shot down again.
That's,
You want me to put somebody on there?
Yeah.
I'll put somebody.
I keep trying.
this is done by district.
Well, they've assigned, yes. So, all right, let's keep that on the agenda. Okay, we've got a public hearing scheduled for 9:30, so we'll skip over number 6. Number, number 7. Let me get to number 7 here. All right, we recently advertised for proposals for residential and commercial solid waste collection and disposal services. Our current contract with Waste Management expires December 31st of this year. We requested proposals for service starting in January. We've received 4 proposals. We've received them from AmWaste, a company called AmWaste, a company called Express Disposal, a company called Ryland Environmental, and we received a proposal from Waste Management. July 1 was the deadline. Those are the 4 proposals we received. We projected that we take 30 days to review them, so I'm not asking you to make a decision today, but we do need to start the process of reviewing the proposals. And try to make it somewhat simpler for everybody. Take one of those and pass it around. I've got a spreadsheet here that sort of summarizes the proposals that we received. Let me find
Thank you.
give me just a second. I thought I had it pulled up here. Apartments, garbage collection. Okay, we got 4 proposals. We got proposals from 4 companies. We requested 2 proposals from each company. Proposal 1 that we requested is basically doing business just like we're doing it. The county would do the billing and the collection of the fees. The company would do the collection of the garbage. Proposal 2 that we requested from each company is with the county not being involved in the billing process. The company will do the billing and the collecting of the money. We received, and I just list them alphabetically. I'll go it right quick. AmWaste, and I think for simplicity, we're just going to concentrate on what they propose to charge for your first cart. Cart number 1 is what way I listed it. AmWaste said they would charge the customers $20. If we county did the billing, they would charge the county $20.19 per cart. If they do the billing, they will bill the customer $28.54. Express Disposal, if the county does the billing, they will bill the county $18.89 per cart. If they do the billing, they will charge the customer $25.89. Ryland Environmental, if the county does the billing, they will charge the county $17.25 per cart. They did not submit a proposal for them doing the billing. Waste Management, proposal number 1 with the county doing the billing, they would bill the county $13.87. Proposal number 2 with them doing the billing, they would bill the customer $13.87.
That ain't no area.
Don't make sense.
It doesn't make that, I think we need to question that a little bit, but I got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of questions to ask Waste Management since they appear to be the low bidder.
Yeah.
But this week hasn't been a good week for, set this to the side for just a second. They had notified us a couple of months ago that they were wanting to go for residential, go to a automated collection system, a truck with a mechanical arm with a pick. Well, they picked this past Monday to be the day to start that. To start that, they were going to need to change a lot of people's collection dates.
Thursday to Tuesday.
Yeah.
They mailed a postcard to everybody. Supposedly they mailed a postcard to everyone whose day got changed. That's a copy of the postcard that they supposedly mailed. I haven't received mine yet, but I have talked to folks that have, and I've talked to folks that haven't.
I received one, and I thought it dealt with the Dooley Campground crash, but then I realized I don't check the campground box anymore, so I read it more carefully, and it was to resident at 305 East Union Street, where I have not resided in 4.5 years. So they're not very, they're just sending, I guess, to everybody.
Well, this wasn't done enough in advance. I mean, I've seen people that got it the day of, or that hadn't gotten it, and then they're going to automated. Did they ever answer the question of all the people with old cans? Did we ask that? We brought that up 3 months ago, was people with old cans, like me, was ours gonna be done on the automated?
I can speak to the 621 Pine, which is the AA house. We had a can that had the lid off of it, and I requested from Lynn 4 times, and she did 4 times, and finally Chris was at my office, and he requested it. It took 5 times to get a can replaced because the old one would not have worked, but it was also a damaged can. And that was our people doing all they could with it.
I've got one of the original cans at my house, and it got empty this week. All I know.
I'll check mine.
But then I notified Steve Edwards, who's the guy we bought that's coming here always talk about Waste Management, how good job they're doing. I called him yesterday, didn't get him, left a voicemail, and just told him that the transition didn't seem to be going very well. And he sent this email and asked me to share this email with the county commissioners, explaining the circumstances for why they've had some issues, but naturally they'll have everything taken care of by Saturday, he says.
So what is, okay, with the changes, where's the list of when these roads are getting picked up? Can we share that? Because people have no clue.
Yes, the problem, well, yes, I have a copy of supposedly the list. Where did I do with it? Oh, man.
Not typical of our service.
One off.
Give me just a second. So that's going to be.
Their timing is not very good.
I stressed that to him.
If you're going to upset the garbage cart.
God, here we go.
And it's coming right after the week of July 4th when everything else was disturbed. I mean, it's just not a good planning.
I have a list of all the addresses that supposedly were changed. The problem is it's 83 pages long. I can email you a copy of it, or I can print you out a copy if you would like. But it's going to be 83 pages of the large, of this size paper.
Or email it, please, so at least if somebody calls, we know. Because it's pretty much, you better tell them to leave the can out there all week and figure, check it.
I think Lynn has been overwhelmed with phone calls.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, but
Is
that,
this available on the website?
Who the hell you had the same problem?
we can put it available on the website. Yeah, we can put this, we can put a link to this on our website. I mean, just in an effort to try to help get word out.
We can at least share the link
Yeah.
and tell
Yeah.
people, Facebook or whatever.
I'll email one of y'all a copy of the list, and I'll link it to our website, and then I'll send y'all, also text y'all a link that y'all can then easily share with folks if you want to. So, we got this issue going on, but then we also still got to talk about the proposals. I emailed a copy of all the proposals to each one of y'all, but in our request, we asked that they send us printed copies for all the county commissioners. So each one of those is a stack for each one of the county. Commissioner Mixon came by and got his earlier, but those are the other four y'all's 4 proposals if y'all want to come by and get it. But we do need to start. When we sent out the request proposal, we anticipated we'd make a decision the 1st of August. That gives us the whole month of July to review, ask questions, research, or whatever. So, how do y'all want to proceed? I've got a list of questions I have for the apparent low bidder. But I would think, I would like to invite Steve Edwards for a work session or whatever to, let's talk face to face and not try to communicate by email back and forth on something this important.
I think you're right there too. I'm in full agreement, Steve. Whole lot different when you got them in front of you.
Waste management wasn't as, especially on the trucks and stuff like that, they weren't as detailed as the next high bidder of what it takes to service us and what they provide. And I don't know how many trucks are in the county each day.
I don't either.
But it was in, and maybe they assumed that we did know that and they didn't put it in their thing. So that's, I don't know that. So I'd like to know what theirs is, and then is this 1 and 2 correct?
Right. That's the main question. That's question number 1 I have is that.
Makes
that's for sure
sense to me.
That's why I was saying, we need to compare apples to apples to make sure that we're getting the same services.
Well, we're going to be having some budget work sessions, so I may try to get him to come on one of those days. Have a little time, dedicate a little time, because this is an important decision here that we need to.
Now, how long the contract gonna be when we vote on it?
It'll be an annual contract, but I think we'll have the right to renew it, I think, for up to 5 years if we want to, but we're not locked in for 5 years, and we just got the right to renew it annually. Which is the way it is now.
Every year currently waste management goes up a percentage based off that. Is every contract that?
I haven't looked at that, but I don't know.
It wasn't in the proposal.
I hadn't looked. I'll have to look at that.
I just wonder what's the difference in the proposal versus the contract for all of them, or how much they're gonna go up in terms of fuel and stuff.
Right.
And then some counties, your bigger places making bids, they've got one group that does their residential and one does their commercial. Will these bids be affected? Like you look, we're saying waste management's the low bidder, but we're only looking at our residential cards. Amwaste is better at commercial, it seems like, on most commercial pickups versus there. Now, I don't know what is the most popular commercial option for our area.
If I had to guess, probably the 4 cubic yard once a week is the most popular. That's just strictly a guess on my opinion.
They're 69.28 and they're 77.60. What it mean? I'm just asking, will the bids be effective if you split up residential to commercial?
That's the question we have to ask.
I would imagine it'd be higher, one without the other. I mean, not the residential, I don't think it would affect it, but I think it could affect the commercial.
I don't know. Can you answer that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
their number one reason in this email for the delay was 2 trucks got stuck in the mud in Dooley County, which put us behind. I don't recall massive flooding recently, but there may have been some. So I asked Mr. Hare, was he aware of it? And he's not aware of any trucks getting stuck, and he typically is. He doesn't always help them, but he usually is aware of it. So I'm sorry they had 2 trucks, but they didn't call us, to notify us about it.
Was Lynn notified about 1 and 2 when it happened, or did we just find out when customers started calling? That's their problem, it's communication.
But I do, Waste Management also provides service for the unincorporated areas of Crisp County. And they evidently are doing the same transition starting this week down there also.
It's going just as smoothly as it is up here.
I talked to the county administrator yesterday, and he hadn't been overwhelmed with any complaints. Different down there, from the standpoint down there, Waste Management does the billing. By them doing the billing, the customers have the option of having an online account with Waste Management, so they can pay their account, pay it online or whatever. And then that also gives them Misty out here. She lives in unincorporated Crisp County. We were talking about all this going on and how, I said I hadn't got my postcard yet. She commented, well, I got a text message. I said, you got a text message? And then comes out, because she went and got her account set up with Waste Management because she pays her account through the internet. So they didn't have to mail her a postcard. They just sent her a text letting her know her date had changed. So there are some advantages to that. But anyway, we need to move on, but we gotta come, I'll try to schedule a work session with Steve Edwards, and then we'll go from there.
Was it mentioned that this mechanical, they'd still probably on some of the roads, they'd probably still have to do it the old way by hand?
I haven't heard anything.
I just, this is pretty, with curb and in the neighborhood where everybody's driving 20, 25 miles an hour. But I can't see it on Highway 90 and Highway 41. Vehicles and big trucks are running 60 miles an hour, putting it 3 foot from the road. That's gonna be a problem, I think.
I witnessed that up in traveling up and down. It's constantly, like 75 with the big truck, and the garbage truck happened to come along, and the guy came up to pick the trash up right in front of where we were working. It was just like all the big trucks that were behind it, had to just sort of slow down because they be speeding coming through there. And he literally had to miss the trash, that dumpster, that garbage can, and turn around and go back down the road and come back to keep from getting hit. I said, now, I hadn't thought about that, but luckily I saw that going on. That could be dangerous. Even on a dirt road, on a narrow dirt road, how would that?
Well, look at them houses on Highway 90. You travel that road.
Yeah.
You come around them curves,
Yeah.
them hills. There's no shoulder.
No.
All right, well, we'll,
That's their problem though.
yep, that's exactly right. Let's get back to the
Yeah.
agenda here. Is Glenn in here?
Right.
Glenn, come on up, Glenn. We'll skip to item number 13, which is not on the, I don't have number 13 on the screen, but 13, if you remember at our last commissioners meeting, we held a public hearing on a conditional use application by Francis Southwell and David Southwell regarding parcel 9734. Property is currently zoned agricultural. The purpose of the conditional use is to allow a rural business on the property. The rural business will be a commercial kitchen to cook food for food trucks. The location is 1407 Adams Road. We held the public hearing. There were no comments opposed to it received. We tabled the public hearing because in the meantime, since when they filed the conditional use, they changed the location that they were putting the building on the parcel. It's the same parcel. They just changed the location, put it closer to the road, which required a variance from the setback, the normal setback on the road. So we put the conditional use application on hold. The planning commission had already heard the conditional use application. They recommended it be approved. So then it goes to commissioners. We held our public hearing for comments, received no comments in opposition, tabled any action on it to allow the planning commission time to hear the application for the variance of the setback. It's a little confusing, but is everybody with me so far? Okay, the planning commission, as I understand it, met this past Monday, considered the variance. Was there any public comments in opposition to the variance?
There was no public comment and in opposition.
Okay. And then what did so Glenn and I talked about it before the planning commission. Normally for a variance, the planning commission can be the final say. They don't have to bump it to y'all. But since this was sort of a complicated issue, I recommended that the planning commission vote to just make a recommendation, county commissioner, so y'all can make a final decision on the conditional use. Excuse me, sorry about that. On the conditional use and the variance, because they need both the conditional use and the variance to accomplish what they're wanting to do. So the planning commission, I understand, voted to recommend that the county commissioners approve the variance also.
Yes, sir, as well. They decided, combined them together. So it's a combined recommendation of the variance and conditional use.
So
What was the vote?
what was the vote from the planning commission?
Unanimous.
Good.
And conditional, we changed where conditional uses now come to us.
Conditional uses have to come to y'all because that's considered a zoning decision. A variance, the planning commission has the authority to issue, to have to be the final say. They don't have to be. They can kick them to y'all if they want to, but normally they just take care of them. But since this was sort of a
Hybrid.
thank you, a hybrid situation, I recommended that they just kick both of them to y'all. So the floor is open.
Okay.
I mean, do you have anything to add, Mr. Southwell?
I don't. It was just a misunderstanding on the distance. I did it in the right of way rather than the 40 additional feet. And I'm right on the edge of the right of way, 50 feet versus 90.
I make a motion that we approve both the conditional use application and the variance for parcel 97-34.
Second motion.
It has been motioned and second. Do we have any discussion on it before we vote on it? If not, all in favor by the show of hand, and that motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
I would like to mention one thing. We'd love to see one of those food trucks come here and not just Chris County, okay?
Yes, sir. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Look, Glenn, turn around, turn around.
We meet on the first, third.
Normally, not today, but normally.
We'll keep that in mind.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Glenn, one of the items, an item got added to the agenda. Mr. Lester wanted to, I think, have a discussion about the new permit fees.
Yes, let's say it correctly, the planning and zoning commissioners have been getting a lot of feedback concern of the permit fees that have been approved. They feel like they're exorbitantly high. And one of the comments was Chris County is less expensive. And I said, well, they won't be, and they have voted for the identical thing that we have. And so they're really pushing for about an hour, wanting to know details more so than normal. And I had told them we went over this very thoroughly before, announced it 2 weeks before they voted on it. And this is a state law that was coming to change it because of the fluctuation in the state, is to get something more uniform. And so I was just, that they've been getting voice feedback, and they brought it to my attention. And so I mentioned it to Steve that they seemed very upset. And I told them the way that we have it now, if within 3 months, we'll be able to tell if we're out of skew. We need to lower it, something easily to be done. I'll be happy to bring back a resolution to lower the percentage, percent or whatever, if necessary.
My question is, Mr. Chairman, okay, so the state did this to hurt people?
Okay, all right, hold on. Let me clarify something. The new state law just previously, prior to July 1, you could calculate your fees on using several different methods. One of those methods was your fees were based on the value of the construction.
Right.
Okay. And another method you could use is it'd be fees based on the square footage of the construction.
Right.
Or the fees could be just a flat fee for each type of permit. Okay, that was in simple terms, that was the three ways you could be calculating what your fees could be based on. The new law that went into effect July prohibits you from using the value of construction as a method to calculate your fees. That's what our old fees were based on. They were based on the value of the construction. So we made the decision to go to base our fees on a fee based on the square footage. Now, the state don't tell us how much we can, the state doesn't mandate how much we charge per square foot of heated area. We get to choose that. And that's where Glenn came and projected that what he recommended. Back up. When we're talking about this, one of the first questions I asked, I said, all right, how much would y'all like, what percentage of the building inspection budget, the cost of doing that, of doing inspections, what percent of that expense would y'all like the fees to cover? And we agreed, we think I'll generate 50% of the cost of providing the service. So that's what Glenn went, and his recommendation is based on the fees that we're now charging should cover approximately 50% of the cost of doing the inspection. Now, y'all are in complete control of how much is charged per square foot.
Okay, so per square foot, how much we charging?
For heated area?
Heated area is 80 cents a square foot.
80 cents for heated, and what about non-heated?
Non-heated is 40.
40.
Yes. Non-heated, residential, non-heated, agricultural, we're charging 20 cents a square foot.
So that's like patios or whatever.
Right, if you have a carport, pavilion, or shed or such.
It was on the
It's
agenda.
on the
So do
website.
you
I put
base
the
that-
fee schedule on the website.
Do we base that on, say like building what it costs to build per square foot? Is that based in anywhere? Like some builders charge $125 square foot, some charge two.
No, we can't, our fees can't be based on
With the contractor.
what the value of the construction is.
Yeah, I know that. Oh, so it's not, because what I thought somebody said we was charging, like, basing on $190 dollars a square foot.
Okay, and then I want to ask a question. Okay, if the building permitted, and I'm in the business too, so I understand where people are coming from. Yeah, I go back again. If we're gonna build a 2,000 square foot house, and you saying, and I just want you, yeah, it's 2,000. Okay, and you saying you're gonna charge 80 cents for the.
And if I could clarify, the 80 cents is for the construction. If you see it on your PDF there, if there's plumbing, we're charging 15 cents a square foot, mechanical 10 cents a square foot, electrical 12 cents a square foot. If they have gas inside there for a furnace or such, and then there's 5 cents. So it could go up to $1.22 a square foot combined. So if you
So
took
the max out at 125, is there a max out of everything?
that would be, I don't want to.
But I can't figure out why. I mean, you the same person that go in there every time. Why? I mean, I just can't. And then it kind of, I mean, it's really, this is sort of, it's getting a little bit more complicated than we anticipated in my book.
Because I never would have thought we was gonna
Right.
want to hurt people.
Yeah.
I thought it was, just averaging out pretty much.
We did comparisons of, didn't we do comparisons?
Yes, I
Of
took
a house, this is
5
cheaper.
That's what he said.
That's accurate.
Huh?
Okay.
That's what he said. Now, you go ahead on.
But I'm saying if you're building and we'd have to look at examples, but if you're building.
That's what for next. I wanted to tell you
If
too. Yeah.
you're building a 2,000 square foot house, if somebody built one in January on the value thing, how much was their total permit? And then let's calculate it based off this. I was under the impression that number, we reduced that number.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Y'all saying that there's people saying it went up?
Went way up.
Yeah.
That's what from what I
Well,
understand.
if I could clarify on that, a lot of the assumptions they were declaring a lesser number than what it actually cost to build it. So they skewed the number right off the bat. I took 5 years of data, and Chris and I, we put it all together and averaged it with the amount that they were declaring, not that we were declaring. Based on those 5 years of data, it came up to, when we did a 50%, it's $1.22 for everything a square foot. So it'd be $2,440 for a new house permit for everything in it.
Oh, okay. On the two. Okay, just give me an example. I understand all the talking. I understand all that, but just give me an example of you going visually for the foundation and the walls and all that kind of stuff, and then for the plumbing and heating and air and the electrical. Just give me an example why the fee is what it is. I know everybody got the chance to talk around the table, so I didn't want you to break it down for me so I can truly understand.
So the fees break out to, when I get the plans, I got to spend time on the plans, making sure everything is there, it needs to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to go out, and there's averages 22 to 25 inspections on job sites with footers, foundations, your framing, your electrical. You have 2 different inspections. Your plumbing, you have 2. Mechanical, you have 2. And then your finish. So throughout, it breaks up to going out to either as many as 20, 25 times to one home from beginning to end.
So you charging, okay, cause normally when on a 2,000 square foot house, you know, you're talking about in the past, on the high side, the permit will cost $1,200 or $1,300, you know, in the past. You know, is what I've been paying in the surrounding counties or whatever. So how much you say 25? God dog, how many?
2,000 square foot house, at $1.22 a square foot that's gas, electric, plumbing, mechanical, and construction. That would be $2,440.
Why so much?
Okay, but on a 2,000 square foot house, what's the value of the construction?
That depends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know, and that's what we went through this. This hurt people that built less expensive homes. It helped, it evened it all out. It didn't matter if you built a $700,000 house or a $150,000 house. The square footage evened it all out. So that's what we had to figure out of.
It's too high still. I don't care what you say.
Who you're
It's too high.
disenfranchised.
We need to just think about bringing those prices down some from the 80%, 40%, 20%, because we don't want to just run people away from Dooly County, because they're going on the top side, when it's time for the taxes, they're going to have to pay the taxes. I mean, we shouldn't be worried about all this money for the permits and all when they're going to get taxed. That's going to eat people up alive right there. When it's time for them to pay the taxes. So why we want to discourage people to come on a 2,000 square foot house? You said it's $2,400.
$2,440, yes.
That's just too much
Okay, but then my other question is,
on our figures.
I never seen an inspector come out on 25 times. I'm just being honest. I mean, normally they're going, most of the time it might be on the high side, 6, 7 times that they're gonna come and check. That's all. I mean, I'm not trying to fudge or do anything else. I'm just saying, you know, the amount of time that they normally come. Because see, normally when they come, they want to do the plumbing, the heating in there, and all that at one shot, so they won't have to keep coming back and forth. They will ask you that, even though you might have paid for it on a permit. But most of the time, they just don't come that many times. And he'll be living in the house if he came 25 times. I mean, you know, but I just don't. I'm like Tony.
House.
That's just
$120 square foot.
Yeah, that's about what the going rate.
$120 square foot. That's $240,000. Permit was $2,200. 2,400. That's 1%. That's 1% of the bill.
So what? It's still too high.
That's been the going rate we charge.
That's still too high. What do Valley gonna charge?
Same thing.
They're gonna charge the same thing that we charging?
So
Ain't gonna copy off here.
That's
Chris
really
County
something.
voted the identical.
But
fee.
still, we ain't Chris County.
I do know Macon County requested it, and David Perry told me
We're
that
not
they're going
Chris
to
County still.
accept it as
I mean,
well.
like, you just said yourself, you go from 1,200 in the old to 2,400 now. I thought we was saying for the help people, not to hurt them. And I know you said people try to do all these different numbers and stuff, but it is a different when if you build a big house and you don't put say high ceilings, if you don't put that what you call that stuff when you put up that coach? Crowd molding.
Yeah.
If you don't do this other kind of, it's a difference. So one house it might cost $200,000, another house it might cost $150,000. Because the way it's inside the house. It shouldn't matter about how big the house is on the outside, really. I mean, it matters to a certain extent, but still, when the appraiser man go out and we're gonna get money on the tax thing anyway, but we shouldn't be charging people all this money up front. That's just my opinion. But we just need to look at it.
Reducing the fees, I mean, and incentivizing building, but I don't believe the argument that this is higher than what we were charging before stands. We've always been at 1% on a new build. In valuation or on the higher end houses, it was less than 1% because they were spending a lot more on the stuff you're talking about. But on average, we've been at the building fee, building permit was always about 1% of the value. We just did the math here at $120 a square foot. We're still at 1%. I get reducing it. I'm fine reducing it. But the argument that we've raised the fee amount, I hadn't seen that stand in any example.
Well, you just heard it. It's went from 1,200 to 2,400.
I don't know where that came from. But that's, on a new house, that's not right. There's never
It's still too high. I don't care what you say. It's still too high.
I hear him
It's
agreeing.
still too high.
I hear him agreeing that we could. I hear an agreement that we can adjust the fees downward, and there's not a disagreement in that. The basis of doing it is what's the issue, and I think the issue gets back to what the state legislature took into place when they took away the value because they recognized that not just in Dooley County, but across the state of Georgia, everyone was playing this value game. And they said, all right, we're taking that off the table. So now they put the game somewhere else. And so the game is, big house, small house, whatever. But we tried to, I think my understanding of when this was presented was this was going to be less revenue for the county, significantly less revenue for the county. So, and what we're hearing from the planning commission, what we're hearing from the commissioners and others who are hearing this is that people feel they're getting hit in the pocketbook more. So there's a difference in what you've done and what Chris is doing and what others are doing and what people are realizing. And I don't know that all of it, I can appreciate that some of that could be in the declared values being, oh, my house is $50,000 when we all know it's $250,000. And the old system would have, I can see that, but that's not all of it. There's got to be some more of it. And so just like you, is there, you said that you would do it for what, 3 years, 3 months? Or
In 3 months, we will have a clear answer if it's skewed out of balance, because I can compare it immediately within 3 months, because I'll have
we don't have to wait 3 months. Pick 10 builds. Pick 10 builds from the last 12 months in different parts of the county. Charge the building permit for what they paid based on value, and then figure what they would have paid based off square footage, and you'll see, did they pay more in value, or would they have paid more or less in square footage?
So what you would say is go pick 10 that have been completed.
Or in process. They've already bought the building permit. Yes.
Why don't we do this? Is 10 a fair sampling for everybody?
It is, but they need to be some larger homes and they need to be average homes.
Okay.
Licensed contractors.
Okay. All right, let's pick 10 licensed contract builds, however you want to do it, whatever your parameters are, that have been completed, okay, in the past. And we can go back and say the old system was what they paid, because we know they paid that. And then we can apply these rules to that across the board and see where we end up. And it's got to be new construction because, you've got certain things that are new construction, certain things that are not. We don't want any remodels in there. We want, and what I've got to say is this: did we have 10 new houses built last year?
Yes.
How many did we have?
I think there was 12.
Okay, so we're going to basically pull everything we did.
The projects don't necessarily have to be, the house don't have to be completed, because they can do that just as long as the permit's been paid, all the permits have been obtained and paid.
Right, same thing.
You got the examples.
Right.
We won't have to wait in the future.
Right, you've got,
Pull it from what we have.
but if you do a sampling of 10, the point, I think the bigger point here is we don't want to discourage building houses. I hear that across the board. I also hear in here that maybe some people that had the higher end Crown Moldings might have been getting a little bit of a break on the front end on the old system, and they're trying to level some of this out. But the leveling of it out is, I don't think human nature is such that if you get to declare your own value, you're going to declare it less than what you think the tax man is going to do it to you for. I'm not saying that anyone did that. I'm saying that everyone did that.
Mhm.
I would have done that. I mean, that's just human
So
nature.
you would lie.
I would say what I thought the value of it
Yeah.
was.
But
And
see,
my value is going to be different than their value.
But when you're asked, how much are you paying to build this house? And you don't declare the amount that you're gonna pay that contractor. If you declare a lower amount, is that a lie?
Under Revelation 21 verse 8, I do believe it is.
Is that a false statement you're signing for a government purpose? Is that against the law?
Mr. Barron is my contractor. You'll have to ask him and his counsel.
You should know more about this than I was.
I get what you're saying.
I'm like you.
it's
Turn it
gonna
over to the
help.
tax man at the end. If they want to lie, I mean that's their business. You know.
That's where I think our hats are all different and all the same. You know, it's one thing if it's, and I think that's what he's hitting me with. You know, would I lie? You know, well, the thing is, I think that we're all going to say if it's open to negotiation, then it's not a lie. But what the bottom line is, I'm not going to declare that my house that I just built for that I paid $250,000 for, I'm not going to declare that it's $500,000. Now, when I go to Atlanta and talk to somebody and say, I have a $500,000 house down there, does that mean the value of my house is $500,000? No, it just means I lied that way too. Yeah. Okay, because people aren't going to tell you. You know, you go over to the tax commissioner's office and ask them what people come in there and say. They say,
We're getting bogged down here.
But this method was a disadvantage to people building $100 to $120 square foot houses. It was an advantage to people building $150 houses and up. If they all declared correct values, this would make it more expensive to build a cheaper home and less expensive to build a more expensive home. But
Can you have the numbers for 10 projects? How long would it take you to have those numbers?
I can have by the next commissioners meeting.
Okay.
I just, for clarity, sometimes even the square footage that they were declaring wasn't accurate. So how, you just want me to say this, because they might declare square footage. I found that not to be accurate as well.
That's right.
let's go off what they declared in those permits. I mean, that's.
They don't have to have a plan.
Well, in some places,
Yeah.
they want to, you know, even if you don't have a plan, they want you to draw out the figure. Yeah, and that's what the inspector will, you know, will go by. Then he can say, well, then you lie. I mean, you need to go back because you don't add some more square footage to it. And while we're talking, before I forget it, I still would like to see the comparison between before we adopted this and, you know, a year, 2 or 3 years ago, you know, what we were charging, you know, that I would like to see the comparison between now and then. So I would have something to say, well, then this is how it was back then. This is how it is now. And they can see whether we actually went up a whole lot higher than what we've been doing in the past. You know, I would like to see that.
Should pause issuing permits till we get a final answer?
No.
I mean, people.
One of the questions that the gentleman asked me Monday night was, well, do we get money back if they reduce it?
How many you done wrote since we just started July the 1st, didn't we?
No, yeah, but I've already issued several permits.
Since July the 1st?
Yes, sir.
Well, it can go both ways. You know, you might have to add some more money to it, or you might get some back. So,
They ain't willing to
but
pay.
yeah,
Okay.
When we
I just
changed
wanted-
this, what about?
They asked that question, so I-
$50,000 all last year? I don't think you can retro.
The answer
I know
to that is the permit is as it is on the date that you get it issued with the law, unless you challenge the law, and they didn't challenge the law. You can change legislatively the law, and if you benefit from it, fine. If you have a detriment, fine. But let's not get bogged down in that detail. You understand your task.
Yes.
Okay, is 10 houses. And if you find that there's something really skewed on one of them, then bring it to Steve's attention, and y'all can discuss how you want to note that if you want to note it. But otherwise, go with what they applied for, and let's just keep it as simple as we can. We know there's problems with the system. We're just trying to figure out apples to apples as best we can.
You said you've issued how many since July 1st? New bills?
3.
I think there might be 3.
Do the same thing with those. You got the price of per square foot, take those same, well, they didn't give you a value, did they? They give you a value?
No, I didn't get a value.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, let's get back on the agenda here. And we're down to 9:30. Past 9:30, but we have a public hearing. Let's see what item number 6, a public hearing. We had received a request to abandon a section of St. John's Road. Scheduled a public hearing for 9:30 today. We'll open the public hearing. Anybody here to comment in favor of the proposed closing of a section of St. John's Road? Okay, see none. Anybody here to comment opposed to the proposed abandonment of a section of St. John's Road? Okay, if you would, come up. She can sit at the table.
Can you pull up a picture of it?
Yeah, I'll do it just now. Yeah. Before you start, let me just bring everybody up to speed here. What we're talking about is a section of St. John's Road. St. John's Road is out sort of way east of Unadilla. This is Highway 230 coming out of Unadilla going to Hawkinsville. If you turn off Highway 230 onto 5 Points Road, and then this is St. John's Road right here. It starts off dirt here to this curve, and then it turns and goes, it's dirt to that, where the red ends, that's where a bridge is at. And then that little section of St. John's Road is paved. What we have received a request to abandon is from that bridge down to this point right here on this curve. Everybody clear? Okay, if you would state your name.
Joyce Thomas.
Okay, and all right. Yeah, you're welcome to present. Oh, she came by yesterday and gave her comments. So go ahead, Ms. Thomas.
Did everybody get a copy of what
I've got a copy here for them. If you would, give me just a second. Oh, they had a copy. If you would, take her.
So it's the bridge.
Will you pull up a parcel map?
All right, Ms. Thomas.
I also wanted to present this along with that to support. I only made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I am representing the members of St. John CME Church, families, friends, those that are buried in St. John Cemetery on St. John's Road. And we are not in favor of abandon the part of the road that covers St. John CME Church land and cemetery from the beginning to the end. And when they first talked about, before they paved part of the road is paved and it ends before it gets to St. John Cemetery land and the church part. There are 1.81 acres of St. John Cemetery land and cemetery. So I don't know why they stopped paving it before it got to the St. John CME Cemetery, but they did. It's just dirt. And maybe somebody can explain who made that decision and why, because it was our understanding that they would pave the entire St. John Road before they even started paving it. Does anybody have an answer to that?
I think I'm probably the only one.
Yeah, because I'm
that
sure
was
I ain't
around
right.
when that road got paved.
Yeah.
It's my recollection that at the time the road got paved, the county was getting funding from the state to help with paving projects. And the county would submit a proposed project to the state. The state would come out and they had a system that they would score the road. The needs is what they score the needs of the road. And one of the contributing factors for their score was the number of houses on the road. And once you got below where the current pavement ends, I believe there's no other residences on that section of road. So when the state scored St. John's Road from the very top up there to the very bottom to the sharp curve, it did not score high enough for the state to participate in funding it. Now the county could have funded it all ourselves, but the county has always relied on state funding to help with paving projects. So then they got the state to come back and rescore the section of road that is currently paved, and that section scored high enough to receive state funding. So that's why only part of that road got funded, got paved.
Okay, so the county never addressed the issue of paving it at least up through that part that is part of St. John's Church land and cemetery, the 1.81 acres.
I believe there was discussions about it, but the county would have to have funded 100% of the cost of that paving, and the commissioners just, like I said, up to that, the county has always relied on state funding participation for paving projects.
What year?
What I like to know, when was all this?
No, I don't know that off the top of my head.
I do not know
Was
what
it
year it was.
The 90s, the 80s?
No, that road, yeah, but that road, that part of St. John's, I graduated in 07. It was around 2007.
Does that seem about right now?
I mean, that road.
And there may have been.
The Nelsons live up there, and that when I went out there in high school and all, it was dirt. It was dirt off of.
So after 2000, we think it was paved.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that seem about right to you? Or you?
I have no idea. And there may have, I don't recall, but there could have been issues with obtaining the necessary right of way through what is still the dirt section. Seeing that there was some issues, the current landowners at that time weren't willing to give additional right of way to pave all the way down here. So between the funding and the right of way issues, I think that's the reason that section never got paved.
Let me ask, if I may, part of your time, you'll have plenty of time. I just trying to get some clarity, because typically when there's a request for a closure of a road and we have a public hearing, the moving party is here to speak in favor of it. Do we know who made the request?
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Nixon does.
Okay.
I do not.
And are they supporting this, or do you know what's about?
Supporting closing it?
Right, they want it closed?
Yes, they had certain reasons for wanting to close the road at the bridge down to the church, which is why when there's not a church there anymore. I knew there's a cemetery.
The building was framed. It was wooden, and over the years, it has fallen in.
Right. It's on.
And it's a sort of like a chimney or something with
Chimney.
brick
Yeah,
that's still there, and the steps, and maybe part of the wood of the church. May I ask you, is the person that's requesting to abandon it the owner of the land on both sides of the road?
I don't believe so. No, they're not. I don't believe they own land on both sides of the road.
Show me where is the bridge out?
The bridge is approximately right there.
No, the bridge is now.
The bridge, it paves from Highway, what, 90?
No, this is paved from
County, Sugar Hill Road.
Sugar Hill Road. This is a paved county road, Sugar Hill Road. It is paved down to the creek, the bridge at the creek.
Okay, and then
it's dirt all the way down to here. That is where the cemetery is located.
So there's access from 5 Points
From
Road,
5 Points, which is a paved county road.
and then the road going from there is dirt.
That's dirt.
So it's dirt either way.
Either way.
It's a matter of, are you closing it right there? So how would you get to the cemetery? You come down to 5 Points. If it were
This
closed.
section of St. John's will remain open.
And then it will be closed at the right angle?
It would be abandoned from that point all the way to the bridge at the creek is what the proposal is.
Okay. And so by abandoned, the landowner that's making the request is on which side of it? The right or the left?
I don't know who.
The reason for the request was the drug issues that happened at that bridge. And abandoning from the bridge down, making it a dead end from Sugar Hill Road to the bridge. When I looked at the distance between the bridge and the dirt road section to the cemetery, and then the distance from the cemetery over to 5 Points, it was a shorter distance to 5 Points anyway. So I said that it was a better shot to the paved road from 5 Points than it is from Sugar Hill Road. Now you can.
So the consideration was a public safety type issue as opposed to this cemetery. No one thought about
But we did think about. I did
consider the cemetery.
Absolutely, because we were going to leave that bottom section open, and it was a shorter distance to a paved road than Sugar Hill Road. How do you go to the cemetery? You come off of Sugar Hill Road?
Well, we come off the road that's paved and cross the bridge and come on down. And then, but all of it needs to be paved up to that point. When you say drug issue, what does that mean?
On that bridge at night, there's a lot of drug activity.
It's not that many people out there.
They're not people from here. That's a meeting spot.
It's something that, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but there are other ways that you can patrol it. That's a drug issue, but to not allow the public to be able to access.
I have a question. Is there a reason you don't come off of 5 Points Road there, down that section of dirt road to the cemetery?
Sometimes when it rains, it's very slippery and wet, and we try to pick the area where we don't have to deal with so much mud and it being a problem of possibly getting stuck.
You don't,
right there.
so the road is in better shape, the dirt road is in better shape heading up to the paved section?
Sometimes it may be and sometimes not. We look at the road condition and whether or not anybody has, when you go and those dirt roads have to be pulled and maintained every so often. And it's not being done timely. And so we look at how bad the road appears and make the decision. We don't want to get stuck. So we try to pick the best road. But we would like to have access, and I don't know, it's a short distance, not very far, from where they stop paving the road at the bridge up to the point at which the church and land starts. We're asking that you at least pave it or keep it open and maintained by the county for the public to have access to the cemetery.
Yes,
and I don't know how much it would cost, and I ask you this, for you to maintain the road, the dirt part of the road. Okay, how often would you have to go in there and use your bulldozer or whatever to make sure you got dirt and the holes are filled in from the rain, as opposed to finish paving that part from the bridge up to cover the land that the church owns.
It would cost us to pave that from the bridge to that cemetery. It would cost us about $600,000 to pave it.
Okay, so to maintain it the way that you've been doing it, and factor in the number of years, you would have to deal with that forever. Okay, would you eat up that cost over the number of years?
No, ma'am.
Well, let me ask you this. What's the name of the road again? St. John. Okay, did we put that road on the list for this? Yeah, just for the rock. Since it's by the cemetery. I know, and that's a if we can do that.
You could rock the bad section.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to. I want everybody to be happy, or just leave it alone as it is. But that bottom section of St. John is what I'm trying to ask. I want to make sure you understand that this plan doesn't stop access to the cemetery. It would make you have to access it one way. You wouldn't have an option. You would have to access it one way on that open section off of 5 Points Road. Now what we're talking about now is improving that road. It won't ever be paved, but we're talking about putting that road on a list for gravel improvement to be able to access the cemetery off of 5 Points Road. Is that something you would be okay with, or?
As long as the public will be able to access the land that the church owns and the cemetery, from the beginning of when the land starts to the ending of when it starts. Because there's only a way you can get into the church area and the cemetery. There's only one driveway.
Right. You don't care, you wouldn't mind coming off of 5 Points Road to get to that driveway, right?
I don't mind if the dirt road is accessible to get there. And sometimes, like I say, it's not, because if you have a lot of rain and it hasn't been maintained, you have a lot of holes, you have mud that you have to deal with and get stuck. And nobody wants to have to deal with that.
No.
People are still being buried at this cemetery, or when was the last time a funeral was there and that sort of thing?
Probably in the early 2020.
So it's about 20 years since somebody was buried there.
No, not that long. Okay. Probably within the last 10 years.
We anybody opposed, we ain't never objected.
Okay.
That's the way I know.
All right, well then, okay, thank you for your comments.
Okay, so what, when you saying thank you for your comments, what does this mean as far as?
They've heard your opposition.
They've heard your opposition, so now we're going to see if there's anybody else have any opposition. If there's nobody else that has any opposition, then the floor will be open for them to vote whether they want to abandon or not abandon that section of road.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you also on this that I passed out to you. It's showing Cemetery St. John Methodist, and it's given an address of 504 St. John's Road, and the address is Pinehurst, Georgia. Okay, who records the address? This information is not correct.
That'd be the tax assessor's office.
So I need to contact them to correct this?
Yes, ma'am. They're right next door to the post
Yes.
office. Okay.
I got this that I passed out to you from the tax assessor's office at the bottom.
Mhm.
And he was confused because it was showing Pinehurst. And there is a Methodist church in Pinehurst, but it's not the church that's in Unadilla. So
This is the St. John's Methodist Church?
St. John CME is not Methodist. So I was wondering how to correct this.
If you're concerned just about the address, I think you start with the tax commissioner's office, and they can request that there be a GPS location done on it, but they're going to base it off of whatever the postal service says, and also what the 911 system says. So I would go back to the assessor's office and see what Derek Pinkerton, who's the director of that office, can help you with.
Derek Pinkerton. Okay, so do we know a decision today about this?
Yes,
or
if
will
you,
it be
yes,
later?
We've got a couple we may have another person.
We gotta see if there's any other opposition, and then they'll take action one way or the other.
Okay, all right, thank you all so much.
Is anybody else to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the public hearing will be closed. Floor is open.
I know, I hear arguments and I'm ready to hear everybody else's opinion. I think her main concern is having access to the cemetery. And this could possibly even be one of the improvement roads that we talked about, but I don't, from what she's worried about, I don't think we're doing that, but again, I'll listen to other people's opinion.
But since I've been here, we never, you can
No,
go
go
to,
ahead. No, I was just going to say, since I've been here, we never changed it. Somebody had opposition against it, so I'm still gonna vote no, not to change it. No.
Yeah, if there's opposition, then I'm not for closing. Matter of fact, to expound on that, if you come back and you make that lower section better, there's always a chance that you could come back with the closure request. Because then people can see it in actual time. It's not a, well, it might get done. But if you see it done, then you know, they might take a different approach.
Tim.
Like I said, I don't see reason to closing it, but it needs to be made so they can have access, you know, she won't have to be worried about getting stuck. And what we got trying to get started about the crushing run on the road, that'll probably help. And we can satisfy her on that end later on. That might be a proposition we can do about closing. And it'd be less to keep up the whole, you know, road.
Be a win-win.
All right. David, your final thought?
I'll make the motion to leave the road as it is for now and look at improving that shorter section of St. John's to give her better access to the cemetery.
I second that motion.
It has been motioned and second. Before we vote on it, as usual, are there any other, somebody might have left out an idea, discussion on before we vote? If not, all in favor by the show of hand? All right, so it's still gonna be the same. All right.
Okay, let's get back to the agenda. We'll have a brief work session at the end of the meeting talking about budget process. Don, come up, if you would. Just for informational purposes, but I asked Don to be here just in case y'all had any questions. Back in December of 2022, the county ordered a new ambulance. The vehicle has not been delivered yet. Don has inquired about the expected delivery date. The expected delivery date is May of next year.
Cancel, they probably double in price.
Fortunately, we're locked in the price.
That's why I say, don't ask for money back.
We're locked into the price. So, any questions or comments about that?
It might be old when we get it. It's taking so long to get here.
I will say this. Chris County EMS had ordered two basically about the same time that we have. They ordered Chevrolet Duramax's gas burners. They just received theirs this week. So it's within line of what everybody else is receiving. I have questioned about if we move away from Ford and to move to Chevrolet or Dodge, if we could get it any quicker. And basically, that's a no-go either because we've locked in with the Ford.
You reckon they would give us one of theirs and take ours later?
No, because they're in as bad a shape as we are. So.
And the holdup is the truck chassis.
The holdup
not
is the truck.
ambulance
Yeah,
body.
it
the truck
is
chassis
right. It
is
is
the
the truck.
holdup.
Yes, they are only allowing so many to be sent out. They're only allowing them to buy so many at a time. So, and that's not just with Custom Works. That's also pretty much with any ambulance manufacturer. And there's one that's in Arizona, and I have just briefly talked with their sales guy, and their sales guy says the same thing. 24 months is the average delivery time. So
On a chassis.
on a truck, yeah, on chassis, yeah.
Do they buy direct from the manufacturer, or they buying from dealers?
That I don't know. I don't know that answer. I know when it's titled to us, it's the first time title. So however they work that out, it's not titled to them and then titled to us. It's directly titled to us.
Does it have anything to do with the fuel type?
Huh?
Does it have anything to do with the fuel type?
It's,
Why they're limiting it?
If we would have went with gas, we may have gotten it a little bit earlier, but everything else we run off on is diesel.
Okay,
And
that's just the thing of like maybe an environmental concern.
no. It's just however many they produce out of that line,
Okay.
and then so many is allotted for,
All right, and then the next item. In July 22, the county ordered 4 new cardiac monitors for the ambulances. The monitors have not been delivered yet. Don inquired about the expected delivery date. And the expected delivery date right now is December of this year.
and that is the FDA holdup. So the cardiac monitors that we have purchased, they have upgraded some of the aspects of those cardiac monitors. FDA has just red tape, have not approved them. So as soon as they're approved, they are ready to be sent out. We did get a price on a different style monitor that could be delivered within the next couple of months. But that price basically was $33,000 more. And the money that we purchased those monitors with was out of the Rescue Act money. And I just don't, we've waited this long, we can wait versus spending another $33,000.
CPR.
Yep.
Thank you. Item number 11. Aerial imagery for the tax assessor's office. And when I'm talking about aerial imagery for the tax assessor's office, I'm talking about this type of maps here, or that we get through Q Public to the assessor's office. We periodically update this because new houses are built, parcels change, get subdivided. So back in June, 3 years ago, the county approved a proposal for having new aerial photography for the tax assessor's office from a company called Eagle View at that time, at a cost of $42,000. They gave us the option of making 3 annual payments of $14,000 each for that. At that same time, they also, county had the option, if we wanted to, in 3 years later in 24, we could do another aerial flight with them for another $42,000. So Derek just got the notice that, hey, you had this option. Does the county want to exercise? We're not required to, we don't have to, but we had the option to. Well, it's ironic, at last month's meeting of the River Valley Regional Commission Board, Commissioner Casey and I went to it. They announced that the state would be making 2023 satellite imagery available to the counties and cities that could be used to update their aerial photography at the tax assessor's office. But it's going to be 23 satellite imagery. The question is, do we want to update to 23 satellite imagery free of charge, or do we want to pay $42,000 to get 24 satellite imagery?
42,000.
What you saying? Pay the 42 or, we don't pay the 42.
I mean, that's the obvious choice.
I think he's being sarcastic.
I'm fine with being a year off.
I talked with Derek.
Bringing how much our stuff has changed in a
exactly,
year,
not
1
much,
year,
is it?
1 year.
I talked to Derek, and Derek says, yes, he has some question whether this imagery is going to be as good as that, but for the cost being free versus 42, Derek is okay with going with the free satellite imagery.
All right. Good.
And I'm hoping, back up a second. Let me go back to where's that at? Get back to layers. The state made some satellite imagery available back in 2010 free. I'm hoping if enough cities and counties take advantage of this, the state's already got the satellite imagery every year. Why don't they just make it available to the counties and cities every year?
Well, we need somebody pushing it
That's
under
exactly.
the goal, don't we?
I've notified our representative at ACCG that this ought to be one of their items anyway. So I'm going to tell Derek that we're not going to exercise the option for the $42,000. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Item number 12. Georgia Department of Transportation is currently accepting applications for funding from the FY 2025 LMIG program. Applications must be received by February the 1st, but we need to go ahead and start working on our priority list because Rodney needs to know what roads are going to potentially be resurfaced so he can go ahead and be looking at if there's any cross-drain pipes that need to be replaced, get that done ahead of time so he's not under the gun. So we're currently eligible for up to $733,811. And this program is like all the LMIG the regular LMIG programs, it requires a 10% local match. So that's that. We need to have an executive session, but before I think we go to executive session, I think Linda has some items.
Right, we have a retiree from the Public Works Department. We can get Rodney and Joseph Smith to come.
You're going up around. Look that way.
We're gonna get y'all's picture.
Get your picture made.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Commissioner, can bring you all
Slide
up.
around.
Yeah, you are. Get up. David got up. David's putting pressure on you now.
Can we stay seated though? folks?
Yeah, y'all can stay seated.
Okay.
All
Make sure
Yeah,
you're
come on.
See you coming.
Square it up a little bit.
Okay, Tim.
As y'all know, Joseph has been with the county for 28 years. And tomorrow, well, really today is his last day, but we said July 12th. So we're making this presentation to you. We'd just like to, the county, on behalf of the commissioners, we'd just like to say thank you. We appreciate all the work that you have done. You're going into another chapter of your life, and we just want to say congratulations, and we appreciate everything that you've done for the county. So with a little appreciation and this plaque, which says, congratulations, Joseph Smith, with great appreciation of your hard work, dedication, and commitment. Thank you for going above and beyond as you serve the citizens of Dilley County. Job well done, May 20, 1996 through July 12, 2024. Dilley County Board of Commissioners.
Right. Thank you.
For me?
Have anything you want to say?
Yes, I'd like to thank the Lord for letting me be able to be here this long and spared me my time to be here with Rodney, with Tommy, and everybody. And so I just want to make it brief and short. And thank y'all for everything you've done to me, and especially Steve. Been around with him for a while. All right, thank y'all.
Well, you have done an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your retirement.
Retirement shoe don't fit. You call Rodney hat.
Right.
If that don't shoe don't fit, you
Hold
know.
that up. Let me get everybody. Move in them a little bit. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Ready? I'm gonna take one more. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm glad that's not the other, Smith one, right there one time. Yes.
I know it, I know it. You speak of him often.
Yeah.
Know it, know it.
All right, thank y'all.
All right.
All right. Good luck.
Budget work session.
All right, so we need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
See you, Darryl.
Second, Mike.
Okay, there's been motion and second. All in favor by the show of hands. We in the executive session.
This conference will now be recorded.
One more again.
You going, Bert?
I'm gone.
Oh, okay.
Y'all got, all y'all have left is budget session.
All right.
Shut the door.
All right, that's on you, Dave.
Don't accept the minutes.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of executive session as read in executive session.
So,
Okay, the motion and second. All in favor by the show of hands. That motion carries. Now we're back in regular.
I think we go ahead and adjourn the meeting, but like to have a brief work session, talk about budget
Okay.
process.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion with adjourn.
Okay.
so.
And the motion and second. All in favor by the show of hands.